A classified U.S. intelligence assessment has concluded that even a large-scale military assault on Iran would be unlikely to topple the country's ruling system. The report, prepared by the United States National Intelligence Council, found that Iran's entrenched clerical and military establishment would likely remain in power even under intense external pressure. According to the Washington Post, the findings represent what analysts describe as a sobering assessment, coming as the Trump administration signals the possibility of a prolonged military campaign against Iran. The classified report was completed about a week before the United States and Israel launched their military assault on the Islamic Republic on February 28th. 3 people familiar with the document told the Washington Post that it examined potential succession scenarios if Iran's leadership were targeted. These scenarios included both small-scale strikes against senior leaders and broader attacks on government institutions. In both cases, the intelligence assessment concluded that Iran's system of governance is designed to maintain continuity of power. According to the report, if Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, were killed, established protocols would be followed to ensure that the regime survives. Analysts said those mechanisms are intended to prevent a collapse of the political system, even during major crises. The report also addressed the possibility that Iran's fragmented opposition could take control if the leadership were eliminated. According to the intelligence assessment, that scenario was considered unlikely. The people familiar with the document said analysts believed Iran's internal opposition lacks the cohesion and power needed to take control of the state. The National Intelligence Council, which prepared the report, is composed of veteran analysts representing the collective expertise of Washington's 18 intelligence agencies. These analysts produce classified assessments intended to provide policymakers with an objective view of complex international developments. The CIA referred questions about the report to the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. That office declined to comment. The White House also did not say whether President Donald Trump had been briefed on the assessment before authorizing the military operation. At the same time, the Trump administration has continued to outline its objectives in the ongoing war. According to the White House, the operation, known as Operation Epic Fury, aims to destroy Iran's ballistic missile capabilities and production facilities. Officials say the mission also includes demolishing Iran's navy, ending its ability to arm regional proxy forces, and preventing Tehran from ever obtaining a nuclear weapon. White House spokeswoman Anna Kelly said the Iranian regime is being absolutely crushed. The military operation has already expanded significantly since the first strikes were launched. According to reports, the conflict now includes submarine warfare in the Indian Ocean, as well as missile confrontations near NATO member Turkey. Despite the scale of the campaign, analysts say the intelligence report raises serious questions about whether military pressure alone can produce regime change in Iran. Suzanne Maloney, an Iran scholar and vice president at the Brookings Institution, said the National Intelligence Council's conclusions reflect deep knowledge of the country's political structure. She described the assessment as a deeply informed evaluation of the institutions and processes that have governed the Islamic Republic for many years. The report appears to have focused primarily on 2 scenarios: targeted strikes against leadership figures and broader attacks on government institutions. However, it does not appear to have examined other possibilities. These include sending United States ground troops into Iran or supporting armed rebellions among ethnic groups such as the Kurds. It also remains unclear whether the large-scale assault analyzed in the document corresponds directly to the operations currently underway. Meanwhile, the succession process inside Iran's political system has become a subject of intense speculation. Under Iran's constitution, the selection of a new supreme leader rests with the Assembly of Experts, a powerful clerical body. However, members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard and other figures within the country's security establishment are also believed to play a significant role in the process. There has been widespread speculation that Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the current supreme leader, could eventually be selected as his successor. According to a Western security official, members of the Revolutionary Guard have been pushing his candidacy. But the effort has reportedly encountered resistance from other power brokers inside the country's political system. Among those figures is Ali Larijani, the secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council. As the war enters its second week, President Donald Trump has continued to demand what he calls Iran's unconditional surrender. In comments posted on social media, the president has also suggested he should have a role in choosing the country's future leadership. Trump told journalists that Mojtaba Khamenei is incompetent and a lightweight. He said he does not want Iranian leaders who would simply rebuild the country's nuclear and ballistic missile programs. Trump told NBC News, "We want them to have a good leader." He added that there are people he believes would do a good job leading Iran. Iranian officials have strongly rejected the idea that the United States could influence the country's political leadership. Iran's parliament speaker, Mohammad Bakr Ghalibaf, responded to the suggestion in a message posted on social media. He said the fate of Iran would be determined solely by the Iranian nation. Current and former United States officials say there are few signs so far of a large-scale popular uprising inside Iran. They also report little evidence of major divisions within the country's government or security forces that could lead to regime collapse. Iran's security forces previously killed thousands of protesters during demonstrations earlier this year. Those protests were driven by anger over the country's economic conditions. In the meantime, the message from President Trump to the Iranian population is to remain sheltered in place while the U.S.-Israeli bombing campaign continues. Experts say as long as Iran's clerical and military establishment remains unified, Washington's ability to dictate political outcomes inside the country will remain limited. Holly Dagris, a senior fellow at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy, said the leadership's ideology makes it unlikely that Iran would submit to U.S. demands. She said bending to American pressure would go against everything the system stands for. Other analysts agree that even if Iran's leadership loses influence abroad, it still retains strong control within the country itself. Suzanne Maloney of the Brookings Institution said there is currently no alternative political force capable of challenging the regime's remaining power. Even if the government cannot project its authority effectively beyond Iran's borders, she said it can still dominate domestically. The intelligence assessment suggests that the Islamic Republic's institutions are not as fragile as some policymakers might believe. While President Trump could potentially influence events if the regime collapsed, the report does not see that outcome as likely under current conditions. As the war continues and the military campaign expands, the question of what comes next for Iran remains uncertain. But according to the classified intelligence assessment, the country's ruling system appears far more resilient than many outside observers may assume.